Welcome back to Sailing Not Short. Today, we're going to try and make water. Yeah! Right back. Hey, welcome back to Sailing Not Short. Like I mentioned, we're going to make some water because we have a water maker now. Why do we have a water maker? I've got 200-gallon tanks. What do I need a water maker for? Because we go through water. Water is very important, and I don't want to get stranded somewhere where we don't have availability to water. So, one of the things on our list, because we're coming up on, 4 years now before we go cruising. So one of the things, major purchase on the list was a water maker. I looked at different brands, so I was kind of keeping my eye on the Rainman Watermaker. I was looking at the one that runs off electricity because I have a big diesel generator, so that'd be easy. But I was also keeping my eye on the Petrol gas version when it has a self-contained engine. So when a deal came up, because I was going to buy new, but if a deal came up that was too good to pass, I didn't pass. I got it. So let's go take a look at it. So it's got two sides to it. The first side is the engine and the pump. So yeah, I got the Petrol one. This is the engine, and here's the pump. It closes up like this. That's what it looks like. Oops. Hey, you want to see it? There. How about that? Instead of looking at me the whole time, let's look at it. And you can see it's got a nice handle to it. Here's the filter. So that's the one part of it. That's the engine and the pump. And then there's a high pressure water line over here that connects up to the filters, the membranes. So we're going to go over here and take a look, because I am over here. Let's go take a look. There they are. So you're looking at it going, what the hell is this mess? So this is the case that these membranes go into. And I already took it out because I'm going to be working on it. So let's take a look at these things. So we'll start with over here. And these are ceramic. These things are heavy. This thing weighs like 50 pounds, so it's heavier than the other unit with the engine in it. So it's got the membranes, because there's a lot of high pressure going through there. You can see it's got 3 tubes coming out. Now, again, I knew this was used, so I knew that it had a problem with the high pressure line, which has, obviously, electrical tape on it here and here. So I knew I was just going to have to replace that high pressure line. So not a problem. They tell you to actually make sure to replace this end too if you're going to replace this whole thing, because it's older style. So we're going to replace that whole thing. I'll show you the new one we got in. So these are the two membranes. You've got your PSI meter, and you've got a way to increase and decrease pressure. Then over here we've got the white one. I'll give you a bit of it. Hold on. So the white one is for the fresh water that comes out, the clean water. This is the brine output, which is the crappy water. So that's that's icky water that comes out. So you got basically 3 tubes into this unit. So normally, through my research, when you run this thing, you get your PSI usually up to about 800 for salt water, and you slowly raise it up until it gets there. Now, what about brackish and fresh? Well, brackish water, you want to run it lower, and they say to run it between 200, 300, whatever your gallons or liters per hour are output, and don't go over that. Okay, well, how am I going to do that? I don't have a flow meter anywhere, because this is an older version, and they didn't have a flow meter. So I went online, and I got one so from a Rainman dealer. And it came with a bracket if I wanted to mount it at a location, but I'm not really going to mount it, so I took it out of there. So this is what it looks like. And it's got liters per hour and liters per hour and gallons per hour. And it has a little meter. So, okay. Then I hooked these up with these little push-ins and using this white tube. So this will go in line with the white tube, which I'll have to cut and put in. Now, where am I going to put this thing? Well, if you notice, I noticed in the other ones that this little knob here is basically a mounting knob, is what it is. So what you do is I'm going to cut a hole that same size, so when it'll lay here when I'm not using it, and then when you use it, you put it in the hole and that stands it up so you can read it and look at it. Okay? So that's what we're going to do with that. The case is over here, which, like I said, I already took it out of the case. And you can see that the case, the membranes were held in by these plastic ties. Okay? And these plastic ties here are actually holding the membranes together with the rest of the unit. So that's what keeps the whole thing together. So you don't want to kind of take those off unless you really, really have to. The other reason I took this off is because it's really heavy, and I wanted to test it on the boat to see where it would fit. The good news is it fits in the captain's chair. So it's going to probably go, because I didn't want to haul it all over the place. So it's going to go into the captain's area. So all I have to do is open it, run the high pressure line back to the back of the boat where I'm probably going to put the other unit. And these will run to the water tank, and this will just run off the side, which has plenty of length for both because the captain's chair is pretty close to the water. Okay, so that's the membrane unit, and that's kind of what we're going to do with the mounting. As far as, you know, it'll sit in the captain's area down below where I've got chairs and a cart and some power cables, but that stuff can just sit on top. You know, and when I need to use the Watermaker, I'll go ahead and just pull that stuff out. Okay, so let's go back to the other part of the Rainman Watermaker, which is this part here. And you can see that, like I said, we got this part. So we've got the raw water filter. That's the first filter. That's what this goes to. This is the sediment filter cartridge. And you can see that it goes in there. You just unscrew it and you tighten it back up. This is the high pressure output. This is the part that goes in the water, that sucks up the water from wherever water you're sitting. Okay. Over here, I've got some new parts. That's to put in that's for that, to screw that on, help screw it on. It's a filter wrench. I've got an extra belt, which I'll get into that. That's the belt that's for the engine to run the pump. They gave me some extra ties, extra white fresh water, because I'm going to have to cut the other one to put the flow meter in, so I wanted some extra. Over here, oil, extra oil, 10W30. And this here is sodium metabisulfate, which is the pickling stuff. So you put in about 3 teaspoons of that into about 2 gallons of water to pickle the system. And we'll get into showing how to pickle. But you can always you can go on the internet and find out how to pickle this. This part is going to be, this is an extra part that was replaced because it was getting nasty over here. In fact, let's take a look at that one. So I didn't show you that one. So over here, you can see that's the part right here, and you can see how the ends have kind of corroded. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace them. It wasn't that much, and what the heck. I could have cleaned it, but I was like, it wasn't that much. I'll just buy it. Then we've got some caps. This is a hose cap kit. So this caps all the hoses, so when you pickle the system, you cap the hoses. And this is the high pressure line replacement that I got. And this is the end cap that I'm going to have to put on, and we'll get into how that works, and I'll have to make sure I read through the manuals and maybe even talk to Rainman and go, am I doing this right? And that end goes on there, and then you've got the plumber's tape. Okay. All right. Come over here. So you can see I'm doing it on my dining room table because that's where you do boat projects. So with towels down so I don't ruin the finish. Yes, my Avril is very nice to me. So as soon as you open this up, now I've already taken this motor out and cleaned everything in here. It was pretty kind of oily a little bit in here. Now you notice that this is in here. Well, I put this in here. This is a quick reference card that you can get from all the manuals. So I printed this out, I laminated it and cut around it so that I can have it handy that tells you how to set everything up. And also, hold on. This tells you how to set everything up and also shows you some important warnings, like never run without the intake being submerged. So those are some of the warnings. So you should definitely have this on hand so you don't forget, oh, I should not do these things. Okay? All right. So the next thing we're going to do in the next episode, we're going to come back and we're going to take this thing apart and clean it up. Coming up. Hit like, subscribe, whatever, tell your friends, tell other boaters, say, hey, if you want a Watermaker, check this out. This is a good episode. And if you want a really good dinghy, you should check out my episodes on the dinghy too. So, okay. All right, sorry, that's been a bit too much promotion. We'll catch you next time.